And welcome to our Facebook Live presentation. Thank you for joining us this morning at 9 o'clock and hearing Tom and Martha give us some great information about the resiliency in our food system over the last year. Thanks for those who joined us to listen to Grow New York and Cornell Agritech on the research that's being done for other opportunities in agriculture throughout the state. I am here and I am lucky to be in the presence of the 2021 Distinguished Service Citation Award winner, Mary Ellen Burris. I am here with her and Hans Kunze. Hans is a LEAD New York graduate as well as a former president of the New York State Agricultural Society. We wanted to spend a little bit of time congratulating Mary Ellen and spend some time just talking to her about her experience in New York State agriculture over her illustrious career here in New York. I'm going to turn it over to Hans so that he and Mary Ellen can chat.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am very pleased to be here with Mary Ellen Burris, our Distinguished Service Citation Award winner for 2021. We happen to be here at her home in Rush, New York, and as you can probably see in the background, her solarium, which is a great spot for her to enjoy retirement and stay in shape in her pool. I would like to start out by congratulating Mary Ellen and asking her a few questions about her retirement, which happened 6 months ago. Mary Ellen, can you tell us what brought on retirement?
Well, Colleen Wegman had always told me I couldn't retire, and so I took that to heart, but I did have a knee replacement March 3rd, and so I was home recovering from that, and then COVID came along, and I decided I kind of liked being home, and I wasn't bored, and so I think this is a good time to retire. And Danny and Colleen agreed, so here I am, enjoying life much more than I ever thought I would after retirement.
Well, Mary Ellen, you've had quite a long career, 49 years that you've served Wegmans and the community.
But I had a life before Wegmans.
Right, what was that?
I was a cooperative extension agent. I think a lot of people don't realize that. First in New Jersey, and then in Monroe County, New York. And during that time, I got my master's from the University of Rochester in educational psychology. And then after I went back to work from my sabbatic, I had lost the passion for cooperative extension that I had before. So I quit work and I began to look around for what I might do. And Wegmans was not looking for anyone, but this probably is way more than you want to know.
Oh, please, that's very interesting.
A former colleague of mine at Cooperative Extension had gone in to ask Bob Wegman for permission for a Cornell graduate student to interview shoppers about open dating. Now, I'm always quick to say, as open dating of food. They were, of course he said yes, and then he said, from time to time I've thought about hiring someone that would be the voice of the customer. Just never really gotten around to it. So Marcy went home and called me. I sent them a letter, and I also sent a letter to Star Market, which at the time had more stores than Wegmans did. They never answered my letter. They're no longer in business, just saying. But Wegmans did. And the interesting, what I came to see was so true of the company was their different approach. They asked me to write a job description. What would I do if I came to work for Wegmans?
I recall, that $250 was even if you did not take the job.
Yes, well, even if they decide not to hire me.
Okay, right.
I had the money. So that's the story of how I ended up at Wegmans, and it's been a happy place to work.
Well, great. All of you, on page 25 of your program book, is a lot more information about Mary Ellen, but getting ready for today, we learned a lot more information than you could possibly put on half a page. So we're going to ask her a couple more questions. And Mary Ellen, can you tell us some of the things that you enjoy doing, working for Wegmans, tied with agriculture?
Well, I grew up with my dad as a high school principal, but he had a farm, about a 100-acre farm, and he raised polled Herefords. So I was not unfamiliar with the farm scene. As a young person growing up, of course, I hated it. I did not want to go out to that farm in the summer, but I did, and I've often drawn on the lessons that I learned from my dad about growing things and producing animals. But I found that when I went to work at Wegmans, I could just see the stories that could be told about where food came from. Now that I was in the company, I knew the stories, and I talked to our produce people, and particularly produce, and I just was dying to begin to share that information. And so in the early part of 72, I began to write this column weekly, and did for many years, as long as people were buying newspapers. That, of course, we all know what has happened to print advertising now and publication. But so I loved writing that column and learning the stories about the producers and urging our produce people to begin to buy more locally.
Right. I know that the logistics of farmers bringing in produce to Wegmans antiquated loading docks, as far as farmers are concerned,
Yes.
was an issue, and you helped straighten that out too.
Well, we just recognized you can't back a farm truck up to the docks. They were too high, and so it took quite a bit of work. But what happened ultimately was that the producers began delivering direct to the store. And that was heaven, because it solved the problem of the trucks. But even more importantly, it helped to develop the relationship between the produce manager and the store manager and the grower. And that bonding was what I think led to the success of homegrown produce in our stores.
A couple other things there's many, but touching briefly on FoodLink, can you tell us a little bit about that?
I love FoodLink. Tom Ferrara was the founder of the food bank in Rochester. He came to me and asked if we would be willing to take some of the product that we were currently discarding, if he could have it and deliver it to people in need. And so we said yes. It was started with English muffins, I think, but it went to become one of the best food banks in the country. And we learned that from visiting other food banks, because each time we opened a new store, we went to visit the food bank, and we could see that the practices in Rochester sometimes were better, not always. The Maryland Food Bank is a wonderful food bank, but it was the beginning of a relationship again that held for many, many years until Tom's recent death. But they're still going strong, Food Link. They're not going anywhere.
Right, great. I know that Food Link is vital to feeding the needy
Yes.
in Western New York today. I know some other thing you were involved with was trying to stop the waste of food that Wegmans had an issue with, and that was so important too.
Well, we hate waste at Wegmans, and I still say we. I don't think I'll ever start saying they. But we were just determined to find ways to prevent having to throw away food, and particularly from prepared food. So, again, it was a process. You had to convince the people in the company that doing something different could be a good thing, and it has been. It's really, really helped tremendously to avoid waste.
Well, from the discussion that we've had already, your long career with Wegmans, you retired as the Senior Vice President of Consumer Affairs, but the various topics that we've already discussed just shows how diverse your responsibilities were with the company for almost 5 decades, which is really admirable. Danny Wegman gave us a good quote. The quote was in the Rochester recommendations, being there. So,
it's hard to not think about the customer
right.
when you're sitting in front of one. And so the legacy of customer focus is what I'm proud of, and that is not going away at all just because I no longer go to work every day.
You were the 918th employee at Wegmans.
Right.
Way back in 1971, and there were 33 stores then, and now there are how many?
Over 100.
Over 100.
And we're in 7 states.
And there's more than 50,000 people
Yes.
now.
Yes.
Your resume, if you want to call it that, your accomplishments includes many, many awards, and I know one was especially meaningful to you when you got the Outstanding Alumnus Award from the University of Rochester.
Yes.
And we hope that this award that you're getting today also means a great deal to you.
It certainly does. And because the connections to agriculture that I have are long-standing, and I have a lot of friends who are growers, and I've come to know and respect. So yeah,
Right.
I appreciate this award because of those strong connections to agriculture.
Well, when you just said the word commitment to agriculture, that fits right into this final little couple sentences I have to say. Mary Ellen's commitment to food, agriculture, consumers, to Wegmans, to teaching, to sharing, to learning, to growing, to leading, to collaborating, to working, to mentoring, and to giving your all to the community is recognized by this very special award. We at the New York State Ag Society are very proud of your accomplishments, and we welcome you for this special award, and congratulations. And now we will hand you the award. There you go.
And I'm going to point to the camera.
Yeah, you go ahead.
So that it can be seen. It is I don't think, you've mentioned I've had other awards, but I don't think I've ever had one that's any prettier.
Is there anything you want to say to the...
I want to thank the Agricultural Society for this prestigious award. It does mean a lot to me because of my connections and commitment to agriculture. So thank you all very, very much.
Thank you, Mary Ellen. Congratulations again. It was great to spend a little time with you. Great job, Hans. And for everybody on the committee, I think it was an award well deserved. Thank you for tuning in to our Facebook Live, and remember to join us at 2 o'clock on the same Zoom link, where we'll be joined by the new Cal's Dean, Ben Holton, and we'll hear from Commissioner Richard Ball live. We're excited to see you then. Thanks so much.